Test. Oh, there we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 2022 Williamson County School Board Candidates Forum. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Williamson County Republican Party. Cheryl Brown, Chairman. Raise your hand, Cheryl. The Republican Women of Williamson County. Debbie Ballard, President. Debbie, okay. And the Williamson County Republican, Career Republican Women. Let's see, that would be Sherry Anderson. Where's Sherry? Sherry's to my left. Yeah, Sherry's going to make sure I don't mess up, so that's why she's sitting close. So to start tonight off, we're going to start with a prayer. Our prayer will be led by Cheryl Brown, Chairman of the Williamson County Republican Party. Then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Debbie Ballard, who's President of the Republican Women of Williamson County. So if everyone will please stand, and we'll have the prayer and then the pledge. Cheryl?
Okay, thank you very much. So, Father, in the name of Jesus, we ask that you cover us with your grace and mercy. Hear our cry, heal our land, and turn our nation back to you. Take away the stony heart and give us a heart of flesh to love one another as you have commanded. And bless each person here tonight. We ask that you give each candidate the grace to run this race well. Help us all to remember only what we do for Christ will last. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please keep standing and turn towards the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. Now, to give a brief opening tonight, let me just tell you who I am. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Rick Williams, and I'm just a Republican activist. I guess that's the best way you can describe me. I'm all over the state sometimes. But anyway, I'm very proud to be here tonight. On Sunday morning at 6:30, if you're bored, sometimes I'm on Fox TV. There's a show called Nashville in Focus, and I'm there, one of the Republicans there, talking about what's going on to battle the Democrats. So if you're really awake on Sunday morning at 6:30, you can catch that. And I think Cheryl thought maybe I might be able to do this tonight. So thank you, ladies, for having me. Now I'm going to introduce the well-known, longtime mayor of Williamson County, Rogers Anderson, to say a few things. Rogers, thank you.
Well, thank you, Rick, and it is a pleasure to be here tonight. And to all of the candidates running, thank you for stepping up to the plate. A little bit about Williamson County and the school board. Sherry asked me to address that. In our county, we are 247,726 people. We're divided up into 12 school districts. Those 12 districts really have 12 school board members, 1 per district, and 2 county commission per district. Therefore, we have 24 county commissioners and 12 school board members that represent the people. There's 42,000 boys and girls in our public schools, and there's approximately 4,000 teachers that reflect the direction of the school superintendent, who works at the pleasure. He is appointed by the school board. The main role of the school board, according to TCSA, is to oversee the school operation, and make those decisions for our youth in our county. The relationship between the school board and the county commission is quite simple. We have a total budget in our county of approximately $750,000 that goes that involves the property tax and some state money that is sent down, and very little of it in the federal side. We receive about 45% of our funding from the state, about 2% from the feds, and the rest of the money, approximately 52% of that, comes from you as local taxpayers. When the budget is being prepared, all of the information that comes out of our office is sent to the different departments, elected officials, appointed officials, the judges, with the guidelines that are put down. Once the county commission starts on the budget process, then the money is allocated to the school boards, and we do not have, like a lot of people think, line item veto. That does not occur from the county commission side. Once it really goes into the school side, then if you have in one major category and you wanted to shift money over to the other major category, i.e., let's say 85% of the funding that goes in for schools or any other department is mostly personnel. So if you wanted to transfer pay from all teachers over to something else other than that, you would need to go and get the school board approval and get county commission approval. So that's kind of the quick snapshot of it. I think I would say this to everyone so they fully understand. Williamson County's major infrastructure draw to our county for the last 20 to 25 years has been our public education standards that we have put here. Many surveys have reflected that, and that's a good thing that you would have in your community, particularly on the economic development side, which brings in jobs, and to so many of us, jobs are so important for the well-being of future growth as we continue to grow. The other thing that is always interesting for people to realize that out of the total taxable dollar operational side, 65% of the total budget goes towards public education in our community. If you put the debt on there, so when school buildings are built, we have 50 school buildings in our county, 10 high schools. Always interesting to see how many people can really name all 10 high schools. That's a challenge. But we have 50. We have funding approved for 2 additional schools within the next 24 months. 65% of the funding for operational of our total budget is for schools. If you put the debt on, that is to pay for the school buildings, which are always on 20-year notes. That's about another 6%. So 71% of our total budget goes back into public education. This county commission, school boards, for the 35 years that I've been around, is very, very focused on our public education. Do what? You want me to introduce or have Rick come back up? Let's let Rick.
Thank you, Rogers. Thank you very much. The 2 gentlemen that'll be asking the questions tonight, we have one is from the Williamson Herald, Derby Jones. Derby, raise your hand so they know who to throw something at. Okay, there you go. And longtime radio and news person here in the county, Tom Lawrence. Tom, raise your hand. Thank you. Now I'm going to put my best side to the audience here, and I'm going to introduce the candidates here. In District 4, Josh Brown. District 6, Jay Galbraith. District 8, Donna Clements. Shauna Graham. District 10, Allie Wallace-Adair. Also in District 10, Eric Welch. District 12, Drayson Beasley. And Jamie, I don't want to get this wrong. Is it Lima? Jamie Lima in District 12. The rules for tonight, the audience, please be courteous. Let's let that be all the applause you give after this opening here. Let's not have any more outbursts or talking while the candidates are speaking, and also hold your applause to the very end going forward. All candidates will have an opportunity for a short 1-minute introduction prior to the question and answer portion. During the question and answer portion section, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions asked by the panel. Rebuttals will not be allowed unless the candidate's name is mentioned by name or another candidate in their answer. If followed, rebuttal will only be 30 seconds. Each candidate will also be given a 2-minute closing statement at the end. During the forum, candidates will not be allowed to interrupt one another. However, the moderator may need to interrupt if a response exceeds the allotted time. And to that extent, we have cards here. When you're down to 10 seconds, I have Mr. Mark Rogers over here. He's watching the time. He's going to hold one up, and I'll hold one up just like it, 10 seconds. And then when you're out of your time, he'll hold up the red, and I'll hold up the red, and I'll let you finish your sentence, but try not to go too much past that. So I think we've covered the major. Parts of this. We covered the time. So at this point, we're ready for the opening remarks from the candidates, and I'm going to go left to right. My left to right, we'll start with Josh Brown.
Are we live here? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Rick. And thanks to Cheryl and the party and everyone who had a part in organizing this event tonight. And also want to thank all the candidates who put your name on the ballot. I know for me, it's the first time to be on the ballot. I know that takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of commitment. So thank you to all of you for being on the ballot and for running for office. It was my honor in October to be appointed by the County Commission to the school board. We have three, my wife Mary Kate's in the audience, we have 3 children in the public schools. I'm a product of the Williamson County Public Schools myself. I felt it was really important to put myself forward and make a contribution. And I was really, as I said, honored that the County Commission would appoint me to that role. I think in that last 4 months since I was appointed, I've done a few things. One is I think I've provided a common sense conservative voice for the school board. And whether that's listening to parents, whether that's ending the mask mandate, I think we've done some really meaningful things. I've been an advocate for teachers with the pay raise and finding solutions to help them with the challenges they're facing. So I look forward to the debate and further conversation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next is Jay Galbraith.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Cheryl and Debbie and Sherry and all the Republican organizations that are putting this on for us tonight, shedding some light on on all these candidates who, like Josh said, to come out and put your name on the ballot is not an easy thing to do. But I'm proud to have been serving as the District 6 representative on the school board for the last almost 8 years. I was born and raised here. Went to Scales Elementary and first year of Brentwood Middle School. Looking forward to that new school being built. But and Brentwood High, and now my 5 kids, 2 of them have graduated from Ravenwood. The other 3 have been in the schools, and look forward to one of the most fun things that I do is watch them graduate. So I look forward to serving the schools for the next 4 years, and I appreciate you being out here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. Next, Shauna Graham.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shauna Graham. I'm originally from Chattanooga. I moved to Nashville in 2008, and I've been in Williamson County for the past 5 years. I'm an oncology and bone marrow transplant pharmacist by training, and I currently serve as the Senior Director of Knowledge Management for HCA Healthcare. I'm also an assistant professor with the University of Tennessee College of Pharmacy. I hold a doctorate degree in pharmacy and a Bachelor of Science from ETSU in Mass Communications and Chemistry. And while I'm proud of my academic and professional accomplishments, I know my most important job is mom. I have 2 daughters, and they're at Grassland Elementary School, grades 3 and 5. My nieces and nephews are at Grassland and Brentwood schools. My husband graduated from Brentwood High. I graduated from Central High in Hamilton County. We love this community. I'm running for school board to give back, and I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Next, we have Donna Clements.
Thank you, and thank you for all hosting tonight. I'm running for School Board District 8. Over 20 years ago, my husband and I moved to Williamson County, and it's here we raised our 4 children. I love this county. I'm invested in this county. I want to see only what's best for Williamson County and its future. We are all here tonight because we care deeply about the future of Williamson County schools. Education is my passion. My whole life, I have been invested in education. With an undergraduate degree in psychology from UNC and a master's in elementary education, I know I can give so much to the Williamson County School Board, and I look forward to earning your vote.
Thank you, Mrs. Clements. Next, we have Allie Wallace-Adair.
All right, are we live? All right. Good evening. I'm honored to be here tonight, and I appreciate each of you taking the time to be here. I'm a lifetime Williamson County resident and a product of Williamson County schools, attending several schools in the county and graduating from Centennial High School. My mother is a retired Williamson County school teacher, and I believe in our school system so much that I chose to stay here in Williamson County for my children to receive the same great education that I did. I believe that either myself or one of my children have attended every school in District 10. I know from walking the journey with my own children that every child has a story. However, every child's story is not the same, even in the same family. I'm running because I believe each child, each parent, each teacher, and each family's unique story is important. I want to support the loudest parent in the room. I also want to support the quietest, most reserved parent in the room that has felt like they have not been heard. In addition, I want to support the parents that have not been heard or the ones that are afraid to say anything.
Thank you, Mrs. Adair. Next, in District 10, we have Eric Welch.
Hi, I'm Eric Welch, and I was not as blessed as Allie to be born in this community. Grew up in a military family, and so we bounced all around. And if you know any military brats, you ask them where they're from, and they get kind of that deer in the headlights look. But we've been here since 2000, which for me would have been about 7 moves as I was growing up as a kid. So I've been very blessed that my children have been able to grow up here and set their roots down. We moved to Williamson County for the school system, moving to Nashville, and just told our realtor I just want to find where the best schools are, and which drove us to this area. I've been on the board since 2010, have been an active parent, leader, and volunteer in the school systems, both PTOs within both Franklin Special School District, Williamson County Schools, on the executive board, have been on the Cougar Athletic Club, have been several other boards that way as well. And it's going to be a challenging time for the school district. So there's a lot ahead of us and really need some good leadership going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. Now we move to District 12, Drayson Beasley.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Well, I'm Drayson Beasley. I'm born and raised here in Middle Tennessee. A lot of people can't say that. So I know our culture, I know our families. I currently live in Ladd Park, which is District 12. I love my community. I have been in my industry for 24 years. I have been serving at-risk children. I have a degree in education, and also I'm an administrator for Williamson County Juvenile Services. Again, I am in District 12. I did marry my high school sweetheart. If anybody knows me, you know that's my pulse. That's my heartbeat there. We have 3 children, and our children are in the district. We have a kindergartner, and also we have a 4th grader, and also a rising 9th grader. And so we love our schools. We love living in Williamson County, and I am a man of faith. So thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Now in District 12, we have Jamie Lima.
Hello, I'm Jamie Lima, and I'm running for School Board District 12. My family decided to move to Williamson County 6 years ago when my wife was pregnant with our first child. We wanted to live in a nice area where we could settle down and raise our children. And we love it. We love it so much that we've had 2 more kids, purchased a Harley-Davidson dealership in Cool Springs, and have loved living here ever since. While preparing our oldest child to enter kindergarten, we became aware of a harmful curriculum in our schools. Right then, I realized I needed to become more than a father and a businessman. I needed to become an advocate for children and parents in Williamson County. to be a voice on the board where we currently don't have one, to stand up for our rights as parents, and to uphold the traditional conservative values that Williamson County is famous for. That's the reason I'm sitting here before you tonight and why I look forward to responding to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, that first round went well. Everybody saw how we used the cards. I think everything's going to go well. We move on now. We're going to have the panelists start asking the questions, and I will rotate who gets the question first. So Josh started off with Mr. Brown, started off with the introduction, so I'll go to Jay for this first question, and we'll start with Mr. Lawrence. You'll ask the first question.
This meeting makes Williamson County history. This election will be the first partisan election for Williamson County School Board. Is that a good idea?
Oh, that's it?
Yes, that's
All
it.
right, okay,
Jay?
there we go. I thought, so I've never pushed for partisan elections. In some respects, there has always been politics involved in Williamson County schools. If anybody thinks differently, they haven't seen a lot of school board meetings. But I think our role, really, the way we elect officials onto the school board doesn't really change the way we are to act, and I intend to conduct myself in the same manner that I have for the last 8 years, and that is with respect to everyone, not representing a political party necessarily, but representing the people and the children and the students of Williamson County equally. So while the way we elect them will change, the way I conduct business, and I think the way that business will be conducted will not be changing at all. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. Shauna?
you. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea that we're having partisan elections now. I'm a proud conservative. That is my viewpoint in politics. However, it's somewhat unfortunate that school boards need to be partisan now. I do think it's good for voters to understand someone's worldview. But, you know, when I talk to all my Grassland mom friends, there's no D and R behind our names. We all want the exact same thing for our children. It's opportunities. It's a safe environment at school. We're just parents. And so that's how I would govern as a board member.
Thank you, Shauna. Next, Donna.
Thank you. And I agree a lot with what these guys have said. I think in some ways it's been good because there's some defining and declarative issues when you see when you bring in politics, but it's also hard because education is about the children, and we've got to put the children first. I live in a unique family where we have some liberals and some conservatives. I'm a Christian conservative, and that's where my voice will be. But again, I've learned how to work with Democrats and worked with Republicans to come together on a lot of ideas. And I think that's really what's important, is coming together.
Thank you, Donna. Allie?
So I agree with everybody else. As the state allowed for the election to become partisan, I'm happy to be running as a conservative Republican, but I'm also most interested in hearing all the stories of District 10 and supporting all of those constituents.
Thank you. Next, Eric.
So I've been a lifetime Republican. I was a college Republican. I was an intern for Senator John Warner in his media office. Had a dog named Reagan. But I'm not a fan of it. And the reason I'm not a fan is things like I don't know what my mechanic's politics are. I care that he can fix my car. And the party has a a very important part and plays a leadership role in a lot of things, allows us to sort of band together as a group. We're stronger in numbers than we are as individuals. But I think it's a shame to have to look at everything through a political lens. The politicization of sports that we've seen more and more, I think, is a shame. Education should be one of those areas where we don't have that. And frankly, I don't care what a child's parents' politics are. I want to focus on the child and provide that child the very best education that we can, regardless.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Drayson?
Yes. Well, I'm not in favor of it now. I'm sorry. Cannot hear me? All right.
That's good.
So I do a lot of coaching with basketball and football. Also, whenever I'm working with families in my job, I engage with those families, and I usually do not think about if they're Republican or Democratic or independent whenever I'm engaging with them. I just meet people where they're at. So that's why I somewhat disagree with having a partisanship.
All right. Thank you, Drayson. Jamie?
I agree with it because we're putting candidates forward and we're allowing the community to pick the candidate they feel best to represent them and to handle their children. Okay, it's all about the kids and how we can protect them, how we can culture them, because the job of the school is to prepare our children for life afterwards, how well we can make it. And when we have more candidates to run, parents have more options. You have more people to pick from. The more people running and the more we have to pick and pick from, the better well-rounded we can make the school board. So it's good.
Thank you, Jamie. All right, we'll go to our second question, and our Williamson Herald owner and publisher, Derby Jones, will ask that question.
Now, does Mr. Brown need to answer that question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Josh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Gee, thanks, Rick.
Yeah.
No, I've been active in Republican politics my entire adult life. I think anyone who knows me knows my Republican credentials in that regard. I think partisan elections can help bring out more of where people stand on the issues. And I think it's perfectly fine that voters know where candidates stand on some important issues. So if partisan elections can help bring that out, then that's fine. On the board, we sign a code of ethics to not engage in partisan representation in our board deliberations. I'm abiding by that now. I will continue to abide by that. And so, I think we don't have partisanship in the classroom. We don't have it on the board. We don't need it on the board. But if it helps to find out where people are along the way, then I'm good with that.
Thank you, Josh. Sorry about almost missing you there. All right, round two, second question. Derby Jones, you're up, and let him have it.
All right, thank you. Yes, I'm trying to figure out which one to go with here. Where do you stand on charter schools and the legislation that is currently being considered by the state legislature that would expand charter schools and bypass local school boards?
We'll go to Shauna for that, Star.
Thank you. So charter schools are allowed in Tennessee. They're legal here. I'm a proponent of school choice. I do believe it's a parent's right to send their children to whatever school they deem appropriate. I believe that Williamson County hasn't had the need for charter schools because we have such excellent public schools, and that will be my focus. I will want to keep that. That being said, if a charter comes before the board and I'm sitting on that board, I will fairly assess that and vote accordingly. And if they're meeting or exceeding the standards of Williamson County schools, then I would vote accordingly.
Thank you, Shauna. Donna?
Thank you. I'm for charter schools. I think the more options that parents have, the better. I think when we have more options, it also makes, with competition, both sides get better. And I think that's a good thing. My nephew is teaching at a charter school now, and so I asked some people about the charter schools, because that's kind of a foreign concept. We don't have one in Williamson County. But I think the market will decide if it succeeds, if it fails, and it's really a low risk because you have to have the people who are supporting it to do the crowd fundraising for it. So in a lot of ways, that's good. But ultimately, it comes down to we are here for children. We want what's best for the children, and we want to see parents have as many options as possible.
Thank you, Donna. Allie?
So it is state law to accept and allow charter schools. I'm all for parent choice, but I do believe that we have a really strong school system here in Williamson County and would like to continue to support that. If I were to serve on the board, I would review any kind of charter school application fairly and vote accordingly.
Thank you, Allie. Eric?
So the issue here is not really whether or not you support charter schools or how strong they are or aren't in this case. On this specific bill, the Board of Education, we've already voted 12-0, all of us unanimously, the three of us that are here and our other 9 colleagues, that we did not support this legislation or this bill that was proponent. And the reason why, it's really the antithesis of what we're talking about, conservative, small, local government. What we're saying is instead of having an elected body that is chosen from our local community that can be recalled, we're going to bypass that, and instead an organization that's coming from out of state can go to an unelected body who may or may not, in most cases are not from Williams County, and they can decide whether or not that school is appropriate for our particular community. If we are going to talk about the success of charters too, there's not a single charter in Tennessee that outperforms Williamson County schools, not even close. So it's the antithesis of what we're talking about, a conservative Republican representative government. So I do not support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Drayson?
Yes, I do support charter schools. I think that if parents have different options out there, that they can make the choice for their child. If they want to send them to private school, they have that ability. I would like to see that the local school board to govern that for local government, local, making sure that, the charter is correct, make sure it's appropriate. And so I would support it.
Thank you, Drayson. Jamie?
It is a tough topic because it does compete with our schools and there's money associated with it. But I'm for parent choice. I feel that the more choices the parents have, the better they are. Our schools are the best right now, but that might not always be the case. But when there's competition and you have to compete against something, you're held accountable. Our schools are better, like we just said, than the charter schools. But when we know someone's coming in or there's ones there, our eye is on it. And we're going to be focused to make it better and better and better so our kids can excel. If our kids are doing good in our schools and our test scores are way above the charter schools aren't going to be able to make it. That is our job, being on the county school board. But if the charter schools do good and they're awesome, it's awesome that a parent can have a choice of where they want their children to attend.
Thank you, Jamie. Josh?
As a general principle, I've always been supportive of the concept of charter schools. I think when you hear stories about where charter schools have succeeded, they provided a service in an area that was really lagging behind. And in Tennessee, I think we have over 110 charter schools. The vast majority of them are in Davidson and Shelby County. And clearly you have underperforming schools in those counties and those districts where the charter school has stepped in and really provided a service to those families. I think that's really important. But the standard is, and the standard of the law, and the standard should continue to be, that it's providing and meeting a need that the school district isn't meeting and providing. And I think we've all talked about the standards, and the quality of education in this county is really high. It's the gold standard in our state. So if a charter school comes into Williamson County and seeks to set up operations here, it needs to at least meet or exceed anything that Williamson County is doing and provide a service or an offering that our district is not currently providing.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. Jay?
Thank you. I've always been in principle a proponent of choice, particularly as Josh said, in those places where they do have schools that are struggling. I've not seen it work particularly well, and I think as it relates to the bill at hand, the board did agree, and I fully support the fact that we need to have full control over selecting a charter school. It's going to be state and local dollars that funds that, and I think we need to be the judges of understanding if it's going to provide the same quality of education that we're capable of doing, and so that's where I want to keep it, and so I'm a little worried about about being able to be overridden by the state board, and so that's where I stand. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay. Okay, back to Mr. Lawrence now for the third question.
The average price of a home in Williamson County is now north of 7 figures. Williamson County teachers can't afford to live here. Williamson County Schools, with the Williamson County Commission, did something new in its history. They voted for a pay increase in the middle of the year. That's unheard of. How can we make the Williamson County marketplace more accessible to Williamson County school teachers?
And we'll start with District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. I love this question. I was a teacher, and so I understand how the budgeting is really hard. But I think my heart goes out to teachers because I was at the most recent Williamson County School Board meeting, and there was talk about how teachers are so disgruntled and the morale is at an abysmal low. We've had 90 teachers leave in the middle of the year. And as a school teacher, you get into that commitment and you know you're going to be there for the whole year. So for some reason, normal is 10% departure, around 10%, 8 to 12%. We had 20%. It's gone way up. So we've got to look at teacher morale. I think teacher pay does help, but despite that 4% raise, we still had a mass exodus, and we've got to determine how we can better things for our teachers. My heart is for the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Allie?
So my mother retired from Williamson County Schools, and I am the child of an educator. So I know very well how much the struggle is to live in Williamson County. It's something that's very familiar to me. I do think that with the state currently looking at the formula that is utilized for the county, hopefully we will receive some additional funds through that will allow us to possibly give additional raises and support our teachers where they need it, and hopefully keep them here in the county.
Thank you, Allie. Eric?
We have to continue to pay them more. Right now, as you heard the mayor say, about 85% of our budget does go towards our staff salaries and benefits. So it's the lion's share. I mean, you hear people saying, well, we need to be more lean and efficient. We're the most lean and efficient district you're going to find just about anywhere. But Tennessee needs to invest more in public education. We're 46th nationally in what we invest in our school system. And Williamson County is typically in the bottom half of the state in what we get. So bottom half of the 46th state right there, which is the reason why we have such a heavy portion of our local taxes that go towards that. That's got to be the biggest thing is getting more money from the state. The other thing is creating a better environment for our teachers. Tennessee doesn't produce enough teachers. We have to import them from other states like Ohio and elsewhere to get them in here because we don't self-support. So changing the curriculum in which someone can become a teacher will also help making it easier to access it, their education, everything else. We've got to be a little bit smarter in the other benefits we offer as well.
Thank you, Eric. Drayson?
Yes, I think a good idea would be a incentive for the pay for mentoring program for first-year teachers. So maybe we can keep the first-year teachers on board. They'll stay here longer. And then also adding on to that, having the 10-year teachers maybe mentor the first-year teachers and giving an incentive in a pay for those tenured teachers. So maybe they feel like they can get just a little bump up in pay, and then maybe we can keep our teachers here in the county where the cost of living is so great.
Thank you, Drayson. Jamie?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the point Donna made earlier. 90 teachers left this year, knowing there was a pay raise coming, which identifies that maybe it's not all pay. Maybe the teachers are unhappy. Maybe the curriculum and the way that the teacher manuals are having the teachers teach the class are making it uncomfortable for them. Usually when someone leaves and they have an exit interview at a job, pay is not the number one reason they're leaving. Usually it's the work environment. I think some of the stuff we have to look into is the work environment for our teachers. Our teachers need to be happy. Our teachers need to be positive. They are nurturing our children in the school, and that is the most important thing. They are the heartbeat of our schools, and without good teachers, we're not going to be the best schools we can be. We need to make sure we are retaining good teachers. We need to do studies about where we are on pay, what the 4% raise did for them, and what we can do to help them inside the school to raise morale for the teachers and students.
Thank you, Jamie. Josh? Can we go to you? Go back to... Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We're in agreement.
Well, he mentioned your name. I'm sorry. Thank you for Debbie. Donna, your name was mentioned. You want to respond?
I'm happy. Thank you.
Well, I kind of thought that, but I just thank you, Debbie, for. I got to remember that, you know. Okay, Josh, your turn. Your name wasn't mentioned, but it is now. How about that?
All right, thank you. I was happy to vote for the 3% pay increase recently, and you know, I was stated then, and I'll state again, that I think we should look very seriously at another pay increase in the next budget year, which will start July 1st. And I know that we're going to be taking up the budget at our next work session and at our next board meeting, so I'm sure that conversation is going to come up. You know, Governor Lee just proposed $120 million of additional funding from the state for teacher pay. Williamson County will get our portion of that, which is a good thing. There's a conversation that's already been mentioned about the funding formula at the state level. Looks like we're going to get, as a county, maybe about $40 million of additional money annually as a result of that revised formula, all of which helps us to do the things we need to do here at the county level, including beefing up our teacher pay.
Thank you, Josh. Jay?
Yeah, thank you. The majority of our new teachers that are coming in here are new teachers. The new teachers to the county are brand new teachers. There's no expectation, there should be no expectation of anybody that everybody employed in Williamson County is going to have to live here. And so I don't think that pacing our pay scale, and I want to pay teachers more. I'm proud of the raises that we've been able to give them. I look forward to the new funding formula that gives us extra dollars, and the bulk of that's probably going to go to teacher and all salaries as well across the district. But new people coming here, there's going to have to be the expectation that 50% of the people who work in Williamson County don't live here, and 50% of Williamson Countyans go outside. And so it's not like we're too far away, but we do have to continue to create an environment that people want to come from wherever they live and work here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Shauna?
Thank you. So I agree with the statements that have been made. I know that 70% of the funding for Williamson County Schools comes from our local government, which is one of the highest, if not the highest, in the state. So I agree that the state needs to contribute more, and hopefully that BEP funding formula is going to do that. We definitely need to be creative on incentives for our teachers for recruitment and retainment. It's not just about pay. They've told me that personally. I think anyone who works understands that, you know, your pay and benefits is a part of it. But if you don't, if the culture's bad, if there are issues, there's other reasons for leaving. So I definitely think I agree with the pay increase. We don't pay them enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. Now we'll go back to Mr. Jones. Derby Jones will ask the next question.
Yes, in the Williamson County School Board's most recent school board meeting, The school board voted 8-2 to upheld the committee decision for the reconsideration of the instructional materials decision to remove one book and restrict the instruction of 7 others from the district's Wit and Wisdom English Language Arts curriculum. How would you have voted for this? And for the incumbents, please explain why you voted the way you did.
And I'll go to District 10, Ally.
So I do think it's important to make sure that our curriculum is age appropriate and hitting our kids at the right maturity level. And I also think that transparency into that material is absolutely huge and important for parents to be able to have that transparency and a route to bring that attention to the board.
Thank you, Ally. Also in District 10, Eric Welch.
Thank you. So I voted in favor of the committee's recommendation as part of the 8 and the 8-2 vote. Let me do a quick recap of how we picked the curriculum. So our State Board of Education, which has been appointed by Governors Lee and Haslam, they're the ones who set the standards for the state to follow. The Department of Education then does the rubric based upon those standards, and they chose 5 to 6 curriculums that were available for the school districts to pick from. Of those 5 to 6, we looked at 5 of them. The 6th one we said was not sufficient for what we needed. Our teachers, all of them, K through 8, English language arts, all had the opportunity to read through that and pick what they wanted. So 65% of them, of those 5, chose Wit and Wisdom. We then had an adoption committee, which involved a teacher from every school and a parent from every school. It was an active parent that the principals involved. 85% of them picked Wit and Wisdom. It was 8-1 that they chose. So it is a parent and teacher selected curriculum from that point, and the review committee affirmed that when they reviewed the entire thing as well.
Thank you, Eric. Now we'll go to District 12, Drayson.
Yes. I believe there was 37 books. 7 were modified out of those books. And then we had 1 that was removed, so we had 29 that was untouched. I would say yes, I would agree with the board on the decision that they made. If I was on the board, I would continue to review the curriculum and make adjustments as we go.
Thank you, Drayson. Also in District 12, Jamie.
So the vote was to remove a book and restrict others. Wit and Wisdom is the main reason I'm running the curriculum, okay? This curriculum is emotionally affecting our younger students. The gentleman to my right told me that he has dealt with it with his family over something because the curriculum was teaching suicide in schools at an inappropriate age. Wit and Wisdom and the curriculum we have right now isn't the best for our students. It's not what made Williamson County schools what they are. We talk about how great our school is. This was not in our school making it great. This has been in our school for 2 years. It did not pass the state. It failed the state not only once, but twice. It never passed. It got through with a petition. Our kids deserve a better, well-rounded curriculum than Wit and Wisdom.
Thank you, Jamie. Josh?
Yes, I was one of the 2 who voted against the committee recommendation at the board meeting. And as I stated then, I think that that there could have been further modifications made. And what we were asked to do was to vote on the recommendation as written. And I was not in a position to support that recommendation as written. I did commend the committee for the work they did. There were a lot of hours put in. A lot of parents, need to say this too, who took the time to read and review and provide comments about the curriculum, who invested a lot of time and a lot of passion into that. And I felt like the process could have been better. I felt like the recommendations could have been different, and therefore I voted no.
Thank you, Josh. And Josh is in District 4. District 6, Jay Galbraith.
So I was part of the 8 votes that voted for the committee's recommendation. To me, it was simply a vote of if we voted no, it was to leave the curriculum as is. I think the committee rightfully found that a lot of the, at least in these 7 or 8 books, that there were some things that needed to be adapted or completely removed, which validated some of the concerns that we've heard over the last year about the curriculum from the parents. And so I thought we needed to honor that, and they did a great job of modifying what they could. There's never going to be a perfect curriculum, and so as long as we can continue to adopt and adapt that curriculum to the best of our ability, I trust our professionals will continue to do that.
Thank you, Jay. District 8, Shauna Graham.
Thank you. I'm inclined to agree with Jay on this. I think I would have voted in favor of it, simply because I do think something is better than nothing. I have a lot of, the past couple of years, I've dealt a lot with wit and wisdom. My 2 daughters are in elementary school. I've had concerns as a parent with some of the content, some of the books not being age appropriate. That being said, I don't believe a full rip and replace is a reasonable decision. I think more transparency is always good. We should be able to, as parents, decide for our children what is appropriate. Wit and wisdom is, I think there's some valid points to it. The structure I've heard is good from some teachers, and I believe that it would be better if we could just leave it up to the parents to determine individually what's appropriate as an opt-out.
Thank you, Shauna. And also in District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. I would have voted against it. And let me tell you why. There's many reasons. As a teacher, I served on a curriculum selection committee, and I've learned through that process that there is a multitude of curricula available. And so we owe our children so much more than just accepting what we have and not doing more. And then going back to the teacher morale, this is a scripted lesson plan where teachers are not really given the respect of their profession, and they just have to read exactly what is written. And that, I think, was one of the reasons morale is so low. It provides no phonics. The Wit and Wisdom provides no phonics for the younger children, so we've had to outsource that. So I don't know why we've chosen a curriculum with so many flaws, and we owe our children more.
All right, thank you, Donna. We'll go back to Mr. Tom Lawrence for the next question.
Politics is a business. It's expensive to run for office, even for the school board. Have you started raising, has multiple questions. Have you started raising money? Has anyone, any organization, local or far away, promised you a large amount of money to help you run?
And we'll start now with District 10, Eric Welch.
No, I have started raising money, yes, in that case. The largest amount of money that I've received from far away came from my son's former wrestling coach, who lives out of state right now, and sent me a check for $130. So that's the biggest, largest out-of-state organization that I have. Have not been promised anything from any PACs or any formal organizations like that. Have not sought it out. Do not expect to receive any. Have always received small dollar donations from parents and other education advocates within our community, and that's how I plan to continue with it.
Thank you, Eric. District 12, Drayson Beasley.
At this time, I have not started any fundraising. I have had my treasurer donate to my campaign so far. So I just opened my account. This is the first time that I'm running for office. I'm excited about it. So I will be asking for donations for my campaign very soon. But no, to answer your question.
All right, thank you, Drayson. Also, District 12, Jamie is Lima, right? Is that right? Lima.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's my first time running as well. My campaign, I haven't even opened the bank account yet. I will need donations. I'm here. I'm excited to run. I'm excited to be a voice for parents on the school board. I am a businessman in this county, and I have a Harley-Davidson dealership. I plan on loaning myself the funds to get started, to get my feet going, and to get running. I'm going to learn a lot. I've never run for office. I feel that I can bring strength here with what I know in the businesses I've run and managing stores with over 50 people involved. And I want to get with the community to learn more and see how I can affect positive change in our community.
Thank you, Jamie. District 4, Josh Brown.
Yes, I have started raising money. I'm really happy with the support I've received so far from a wide variety of folks within Williamson County. No one has promised me anything as part of those donations.
Thank you, Josh. In District 6, Jay Galbraith.
So I have, I've really just received a couple of unsolicited donations and some promises from people as I'm just getting started here. Thankful to not having to really start my campaign in earnest until after the primary, but I will be doing so shortly. Don't anticipate taking, certainly haven't received any promises from any PACs or groups. I see that as I'm looking to people, to the voters of Williamson County, not necessarily to groups for support. So there's people out there that are members of lots of groups. They might be endorsing candidates or whatnot. I'm not seeking the endorsement of political action committees, but I am to the individual voters of the county.
Thank you, Jay. In District 8, Shauna Graham.
I have opened a political bank account this week. I have $100, 50 from me, 50 from my treasurer. I will not be accepting any PAC money. I believe my campaign should be funded by moms just like me, engaged citizens, the voters of District 8. Those are the people I will be held to account, and no special interest groups at all.
Thank you, Shauna. Also, District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. This is new for me. It's been a fun journey, and I'm choosing to see this as an adventure. And it's early in the campaign. I have had, I think my dad has been my biggest donor, and so I'm thankful for him. He gave $1,000, so from North Carolina, but that's anything large I've gotten so far is him. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. In District 10, Allie Adair.
So I have just started this journey as well, first time running, opened a bank account. I am blessed that people believe in my leadership and have started donating to me. Every voice matters, so I'm only looking to seek funds from the constituents, the moms, the dads, the teachers, anybody who is interested and wants to support what I'm doing and where I'm headed. So not looking to receive any PAC money or any endorsements.
Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Allie. You know, there it is. Thank you, Allie. Okay, our next question will be from Derby Jones.
Yes, thank you, Rick. There has been a lot of conversation locally and nationally about critical race theory and concerns about being taught in our schools. What is your position on CRT, critical race theory, and do you believe it's being taught in our schools?
And that question, we start with District 12, Drayson Beasley.
Yes, I believe that that we should teach an accurate view of history in our classrooms, an accurate view. Yes, there's some good, great things that's happened in our history, right? And also there's some terrible things that have happened in our history. I don't believe that any child should feel superior or inferior, okay, by any race that they are or anybody that's in their classroom. As a board member, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that there's no hidden agenda in the curriculum that we provide for these kids. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Drayson. Also, District 12, Jamie Lima.
Yeah, I'm against CRT, strongly against CRT. We don't need it in our schools. I love America. I want my kids to love America. This is a country that immigrants have flocked to because of the American dream. And our children can aspire to be whatever they want. The teachings in CRT and possibly some curriculums we have in our school, which is a portion of it, and there's likeness and similarity in them, they're affecting some of our younger adults. They're traumatizing them. They're traumatizing the teachers, how the teacher has to teach them. And I believe that is leading to why some of our teachers are leaving our schools. You know, we need the best teachers we can have to cultivate our students. I don't believe it's just negative for our students, but our teachers. There's a time and an age-appropriate time to teach these teachings when we get into that kind of learning that's in-depth. There's no reason a curriculum should possibly hurt one child. One child being affected by a bad curriculum is one too many.
Thank you, Jamie. We'll go to District 4 now. Josh Brown.
I think if you ask 100 people what CRT is, you get 100 different answers. And one of the things I think that is really incumbent upon us as board members, as citizens, is to understand what we mean when we talk about critical race theory. If you look at the academic definition of what CRT is, I don't support that. I think that's harmful. I think it's not productive. Do I think that in that purest form that CRT is being taught in our county schools? I don't. But it's our job as a board, legally, our job as a board to have oversight over what's being taught, to make sure there's not indoctrination or bias introduced in any of the teaching that's happening for our kids. And so I think that's the thing we have a responsibility to look out for, and that's my commitment.
Thank you, Josh. We go to District 6, Jay Galbraith.
So I agree that you're going to be hard pressed to find everybody to agree on what the term means exactly. Critical race theory. I too am for an accurate depiction of history and not making people feel less than or more than because of anything about them that they can't control. And so do we have CRT in our curriculum in our schools? I don't think so at all. Could there be statements that are made by individual people from time to time? I think we have to do the best that we can to make sure if things come about and people make complaints that we address those to the best of our ability. There was a white privilege training back several years ago. It happened. We said that it was a mistake that had happened, and we stopped it and snuffed it out. And so I don't think that kind of thing belongs in our schools.
Thank you, Jay. We go now to District 8, Shauna Graham.
Thank you. I agree with the comments just previously made on CRT. From the academic definition, I don't believe that's being taught in our schools. However, any ideology or concepts or terminology that's being used to sort children, categorize children by their race and make them believe that is the most important thing about them, more important than their personality, their hopes, their dreams, who they are, is wrong. It's too much focus. I do want an accurate portrayal of history. I want my children to learn about slavery. I want them to learn about Jim Crow and Reconstruction and the failures with those things. I don't think we have to have an ideology that makes children feel like race is the most important thing about them.
Thank you, Shauna. Also in District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. Well, I'm against CRT. And what I do believe in is I think we need to move the focus off of skin color and move it to the content of the children's heart. And we need to value the children for who they are. Everyone's an individual and different. I do feel that the teachers are feeling pressured on both sides. They're feeling pressure to teach some things that are making them uncomfortable, and then they're feeling pressure from the parents that they don't want these things to be taught. And so, again, teachers are feeling a lot of pressure, and that's hard. That's, again, the morale. So that is where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. We'll go now to District 10, Ali Adair.
So I absolutely believe that we need to teach history. I don't believe that history should be rewritten. And I also don't believe in teaching that one person is inferior or superior over another. Having had a mom as a teacher, though, I do think that we should start with the thought that teachers will do the right thing as they are navigating these sensitive topics with the children.
Thank you, Ally. Also, District 10, Eric Welch.
So the question that, are we teaching CRT? I think what people are really asking when that comes up, are you teaching in CRT? Are you teaching, possible in a sociology class, we're teaching kind of what it is, here is the concept. But we teach all the different forms of government and everything else. It doesn't mean we're pushing it or promoting it. The concern is, are we teaching in it, in which we're advocating that by your ethnicity or your sex or something like that, you should feel less or inferior, you should blame for things that happened in the past. That's against state law right off the bat. It doesn't say our CRT, but that's what the law says and does not allow us to do it. Not only do we not do that in Williamson County schools, but we instruct our teachers not to do that. That is our policy, that every child should be treated equally regardless of race, creed, religion, gender, anything like that. So it does not happen. If there is an incident that does occur, parents should bring that up to the principal, and that's something that we will take care of immediately.
Thank you, Eric. Now we'll go to Tom Lawrence to ask the next question.
I think we got very close to it in this one. There are flash words. If you're a member of the school board, you'd better not bring up Common Core. We came mighty close to it with critical race theory. When will you lay down your politics to consider what is good for a child?
And we'll start now in District 12, Jamie Lima.
Well, you should never go at it with politics. It should be going at it with what is best for our students. How are we going to cultivate them to be the best they can be while they're in our schools? And the goal of the school is to cultivate them so after they leave the school system, they can be the best person in our societies and succeed in life in what they're going to do outside of the school after they leave. It's not politics. It's coming down to honest teaching. It needs to be honest. We should have patriotic teaching. Our country's great. Our kids should understand our country's the greatest in the world. That's very important to me. Sometimes I feel that's not always emphasized as much as it should be. America is the greatest country on earth. And our experiment has been very good, and we need to protect it. So politics should be out of the schools. We should focus on the children, and we should focus on the teachers.
Thank you, Jamie. Now we'll go to District 4, Josh Brown.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that, on the board, we have a code of ethics that we sign that states we won't bring our politics into the board deliberations. And I think that's really important to reemphasize that, because despite what happens in the elections, despite what happens in the campaigns, when we get to the board meetings and our policy meetings, work sessions, our politics really don't matter. Our beliefs matter, our values matter, where we stand on the issues matters, but our politics really don't matter at that point. And I know the teachers and the students don't really care about our politics. They care about, are they getting the right resources? Are they getting the support they need to do what they need to do to teach and to learn? So that's kind of how I view it.
Thank you, Josh. Now we'll go to District 6, Jay Galbraith.
I agree that politics doesn't have any place in the school board realm. We are bound by the code of ethics, and I take that very seriously to put students first. One thing we've been able to do over the last several years, when I came on the board, it was just after an adoption and another review of curriculum and a social studies curriculum back, I guess it's almost 10 years ago. since then, we've been able to create our own curriculum, our open source curriculum. So we got teachers, took a year off of teaching and developed a curriculum. We've had very, very few complaints off of such what was a polarizing topic, and we've been able to create a great curriculum for our kids in our classrooms. And so I look forward to being able to do more of that.
Thank you, Jay. Now we go to District 8, Shauna Graham.
Thank you. I've spent the past nearly 20 years of my career looking at facts and data and making evidence-based decisions on the care of patients. It's what I do every day in my Monday through Friday job. I have no political agenda serving on the board. I certainly have my conservative viewpoints personally. I don't really think that enters into my decision-making. I'm always open to empirical evidence and letting that guide my decisions.
Thank you, Shauna. Also, District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. As serving on school board, I will always put children first. Politics comes last. I will make decisions based on what will benefit the children, and that's why I'm running. Every decision we make has to come with the children first.
Thank you, Donna. Now we'll go to District 10, Allie Adair.
So we are here for the kids and the teachers, and that's what the board is here to, or who they're here to serve. So politics is put down the second that you assume the role and step into the room to have those discussions. It's not needed, and as they've mentioned, it is on the ethics, part of the ethics. So we're here to serve the kids and the teachers.
Thank you, Allie. Also in District 10, Eric Welch.
Tom, I think the question was, when do we lay down the politics? And I think it's the answer to that is we never pick it up, at least not when it comes to serving kids. That should not be the consideration. It should be what's in the best interest of the community, the families, the kids, everything else that way. Everyone else, I agree in telling an accurate history as well. And there are some warts because of that. I'm a fourth-generation veteran. I've got a son who's looking at becoming a fifth-generation veteran. We're very proud of that as well. And family, we loved and fought for this nation as well, but we don't love it because we have this artificial view of what it is. I love my wife. My wife loves me, and she knows I'm far from perfect. So when we talk about that things, I think if we just teach the kids accurately, here are the concepts, here's the things we believe, here's the founding of our nation, here's the way that we've improved, here's the opportunities that we have, the kids will naturally love the nation. And it's a true, real love at that point and not something that's forced or fake in any way.
Thank you, Eric. Now we go to District 12, Drayson Beasley.
Yes. I definitely have a passion for public schools. I'm a product of public schools. I enjoy them very much, and my kids, they do as well. I don't believe that politics should be involved in school at this time. For 24 years, I've devoted my life to serving families, and I never allow politics to be involved with serving families. I just want to make sure they get the best education and the best care that they could possibly have. I think we should support the teachers, definitely in two ways. I think we should trust the teachers, trust their professionalism. We hired them, we trust them with our kids every single day, and we need to believe in them that they're teaching them the most appropriate things. Also, we need to make sure that support them by equipping them with the appropriate tools that they need as well. That's it.
Thank you, Drayson. I want to compliment all of you for doing a great job so far. Thank you for working with us. And we'll now move back to Mr. Derby Jones for our next question.
Yes. In February, WCS Human Resources shared with the school board the top reasons teachers were leaving. At the top of the list, teachers said they don't feel like families and communities care about them based on degrading emails and social media. A principal was quoted, "Teachers feel like they have lost the support of the community. They don't feel like they matter to families like they did in the past." In your opinion, what do you think is responsible for the lack of teacher satisfaction.
And we'll go to District 4, Josh Brown.
I think that one of the things that we've got to be really careful about is, as a community, and it starts with me, is make sure that teachers are not blamed for what decisions the board makes or that state legislature makes or the federal government makes. I think if you look at the policy manual for Williamson County schools, and I would say for probably any school district, it is massive. The amount of requirements and regulations and expectations that our teachers have. If I could, I'd go wave a magic wand and we would reduce that by a third or by half, but I realize we can't do that. But I think that contributes to the feeling of teachers having the pressure, the lack of appreciation, and I feel like parents have lashed out under the pandemic especially, but even for other reasons have lashed out at the teachers. That's not where the blame lies. The teachers are doing their jobs. The teachers are under a lot of stress. We'd be well advised to make sure that we're not pointing the fingers at them and directing our frustrations at our teachers.
Thank you, Josh. Now we go District 6, Jay Galbraith.
So teachers have been at ground zero of a really, really tough time in our nation. Everybody's stressed. They sit right between the kids that they're trying to teach and the parents who want desperately the best thing for them. They've had a lot thrown on them. We've administratively administration is trying to pull some things off the teachers, to remove some things off their plate. We've been trying for a while. I've been advocating, and I think now we're going to actually survey the teachers to find out in detail what is it about this now? What can we do? What are the stresses? What can we do to relieve that stress? I want to get more parents back into schools, get the parents back with a relationship with the teachers, and I think there's going to be that bi-directional communication. I think will help a lot.
Thank you, Jay. Now District 8, Shauna Graham.
Thank you. I agree that it's unfortunate that teachers sort of feel this way. That's the survey data saying that they feel unsupported by the community. We absolutely need to have more parent involvement and getting our parents back into the schools. It's been more than 2 years since I've seen the inside of my child's classroom. Haven't been to any classroom parties in that time. We are very restricted in what we're able to do in the building. Having those face-to-face conversations and building those relationships is so key to working out any sort of issues that may come up with your child. I definitely think that's the first step to improving that communication and helping teachers feel like they are supported by parents.
Thank you, Shauna. Also District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. I've talked a lot tonight about teacher morale, and I agree, it is low. Teachers are on the front lines, and they're getting the pressure from both sides under the classroom and then from the parents. Some of the solutions that I see, one of the parts of my platform is better together. I think we need to renew and revitalize that trusted partnership between parents and schools. We need the parents back in schools to help the teachers. We need to hear from the teachers and give them the opportunity to share anonymously where they are, so they don't feel out there, but they can share how they feel and what's going on. I would love to see peer teaching models where teachers can find a mentor or a peer where they can review each other and help each other. And I'd like to see some leadership roles for teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Now we go to District 10, Allie Adair.
So I think back to when my mom was a teacher and think of all the help that she received from parents. They would come and Xerox, they would come and laminate, they would come and help with school parties. I had that same opportunity with my 20-year-old. Having a first grader now, outside of being on the PTO board, I don't know that teachers are getting the support that they once did from parents. So I think that it's important that we get our parents back in school. We all know that it's much easier to build a relationship with somebody when you have that person-to-person contact, where a lot of teachers right now are receiving emails. And I think we all know in the business world how you can take an email the wrong way, maybe not how it was meant. So I just think that it's important to get our parents back in school and supporting our teachers the way that we want to.
Thank you, Ally. Also, District 8, Eric Welch.
I used to have a first sergeant.
I'm sorry, District 10, Eric Welch.
Thank you. So I used to have a first sergeant that always used to say, talking's talking, doing's doing, that way. And I would encourage everyone, everyone here tonight is going to say a lot of good words about supporting teachers, but when you consider who you're voting for, go ahead and look at what they've actually done. Ask them, how have you been a parent leader and involvement? What leadership roles have you done in the community? And even that said, I'm glad that the individual who's running against me, I think, is that type of person. It's probably bad politics for me to say that, but it's true. I'm grateful that we've got a parent leader who's interested in this and that role. That said, I think you can look at what happened up on the Hill yesterday, the testimony, and just some of the venom and nasty issues, teachers being compared to pedophiles and perverts in white vans and everything. That it's just an environment that has to stop and show more respect from all levels.
Thank you, Eric. Now we'll go to District 12, Drayson Beasley.
Yes, I believe that we should have an increase in parent involvement inside the classroom. Williamson County is definitely known for having parents who are active and super engaged in the classroom. As of Monday, my wife, she was a mystery reader for my kindergartner. And my kindergartner, which during the pandemic never known that parents can even come inside the schools. So she was overjoyed that her mother came to read to her. And just how that particular thing there just was so, it just made her excited about school. We need parents involved in our schools to gain the best possible educational outcomes for our kids.
Thank you, Drayson. Now in District 12, Jamie Lima.
Yeah, I think it's crucial to have parents involved in the school. And like I said, Williamson County, we're in a very fortunate county. We're in a well-to-be county. And parents have times on their hands. It's been hard for teachers over the last 2 years. Teaching has changed. The classroom has changed. Where it's being taught, how it's being taught is changed. That's hard. Change on anyone's hard in a normal profession, not even being a teacher, trying to deal with new classes every single year. And the kids are learning it. It's been a very big struggle. Parents into the schools would be a great idea if we can get them in there. Staying in school with the kids would be great because then it's consistency. And I think we need some anonymous surveying throughout the year so we can identify the stresses the teachers are dealing with so we can resolve some of the problems because we don't need the teachers feeling like they're not wanted. They are the building blocks to our children, and we need them happy, and we need them doing the best job they can do for our children and for us.
Thank you, Jamie. Now we'll go to, I think it's Tom's turn again to ask a question. Mr. Tom Lawrence.
Each of you are about to be communicated with by Williamson, Inc., the Williamson County Chamber of Commerce. The Williamson Herald and WAKM Radio will be producing a series free to you for every candidate. Please respond to them and try to work it out with them, and we'll do the best we can. I'm fresh out of questions. I appreciate.
Well, somebody mark that in history that Tom Lawrence is out of questions. Okay.
No, you have answered my concerns and my questions. I've been around a long time. I remember when Public Law 839 became law. And before that time, Williamson County families who had special needs children, do you know what they did with their children? They hid them. They kept them at home. Now, Williamson County is a brilliant, shining light for parents with children who have problems. It's not the best it could be, but it's so much better. We have come such a long way. We don't need to stop now and fight amongst ourselves. And I will leave that with you because that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Mr. Jones, do you have one last question?
And you want me to keep going, or do y'all want to wrap it up?
We'll
It's
do
up to
one
y'all.
more, and then we'll wrap it
Okay.
up. One more round.
All right. That was such a good way to end, though, the way you did that. But I do have more questions. So, Governor Lee has proposed legislation that would require the school district to establish a mandatory review of all library books to address what may be considered inappropriate material. What is your position on this legislation?
And that will go to District 6, Jay Galbraith. We'll start with you.
So I know about the legislation. I don't know all the details of it, but in general, I think that a lot of that this bill probably started right in this room, where a bunch of parents came forward and read some passages out of some books that were sexual and graphic in nature, that I don't think have any place in our libraries, and so I think we're in the process of reviewing our policies around how to review these things. I'd like to have control to do that as a board and as an administration, as our professionals, rather than have somebody tell us what can and can't be in our libraries. And I look forward to continuing that review.
Thank you, Jay. Now we'll go to District 8, Shauna Graham.
Thank you. I think anytime you have local review, it's better, local control. So that mandatory review that this law would require, I think that's good, that the board would be able to design what that process looked like. As someone who, got a journalism degree, my mass communications degree, I'm very pro First Amendment. I'm not in favor of censorship. That being said, our most sacred duty to our children is to protect them, and sometimes keeping harmful content out of their hands is what we should be doing as parents. So I do think it's appropriate to evaluate the books that are available and have a local process for what that looks like if we potentially need to remove something.
Thank you, Shauna. Also District 8, Donna Clements.
Thank you. I've been going to Williamson County School Board meetings lately, and I've been at some of those meetings where these books, and I don't know if you guys have been, but it's really awkward when we hear some of these books. Libraries are vast, and I would like to see the whole process for the review. That's kind of a general, but I like the idea of a local or parents. I think ultimately our goal is to protect our children. I know it would be hard to be a librarian. All these books that they order, I don't know if they all read them first or if they just take someone's word for it. It would be hard to read every single book coming in. So I would like to know the whole process and be involved in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Now we'll go to District 10, Allie Adair.
So what I know, two things come to mind. Transparency, and I think transparency is never a bad thing. So I do believe this will bring transparency. And then the other portion of it is that it does appear that it does allow for local control. So the school board would have the ability to create kind of what that looks like. And I think that is good as well.
Thank you, Allie. Also District 10, Eric Welch.
I think the devil's in the details. I would need to see what the legislation looks like itself, but we do have a review process already in place. All of our librarians in Williamson County schools, every single one of them, has a master's degree in library studies. They work with several different reviews to bring in the books. Are they reading every individual one themselves? No. I mean, we have literally tens of thousands of books inside our high school library, and then it's the viewpoint of one individual person. I agree that transparency is good, and that's why we allow parents to be able to see what books that their students are checking out. They can communicate with the librarians and give instructions on what they are and aren't allowed to check out as well. So we're very open about that. But I think also when you start pulling one sentence out of context. Some of the books that we've read as kids, Of Mice and Men, Animal Farm, Atlas Shrugged, Scarlet Letter, Outsiders, Modest Proposal, Because I Could Not Stop for Death, all these things. There's sentences and phrases in that, taken out of context, sound awful. But those are all great works of literature that we've all read, or at least hopefully should have.
Thank you, Eric. Now we go to District 12, Grayson Beasley.
Yes, I believe that the LEA is it better now? I believe that the LEA is transparent, of course, with any information, any books that they're offering our kids. I think the parents, again, should be more involved, and they should be aware of what the opportunities and of what our kids could get their hands on. And I think that's just the best option at this time.
Thank you, Grayson. Also in District 12, Jamie Lima.
I agree with the review of the library books because some of the books that we've mentioned tonight and that have been coming up in the school board meetings are concerning. Some of them are disturbing. And for some of the kids in the school, they might be age appropriate. Some kids might not be age appropriate. Who's monitoring our kids in the library while they're reviewing these books? When one kid finds that book, he shows the rest of the kids. It's just how it works when you're young. You're like, look what I found, and then it spreads through the school. We don't need material being shown to our kids that is disturbing at an inappropriate age. The review of the library books is great. It needs to be transparent. Parents should be able to review these books, and they should be able to weigh in with the local school board to see if they should be pulled out of the library. Parent choice and transparency is it's a big topic, and they need to make a decision.
Thank you, Jamie. And now District 4, Josh Brown.
Thank you. I've read the legislation, and there's two things that I think are really important in that legislation. One of them is that it calls for the library book collections of any school to be posted on that school's website. I don't think anyone could argue with that. Administratively, we'd have to work through how that would be done, how long that would take, would there be any cost involved. But the concept of posting our library book collections online, to me, is a great concept. The second thing it does is it calls for the local school board to set up a policy by which the review of those books would take place. And that it has to include teachers, librarians, and parents. I think that's a very good thing. So I'm supportive of the legislation in concept. It comes down and allows us as a school board to make the decisions about what the details are of that policy, how the process would actually look. That local control aspect of it is really important.
Thank you, Josh. I want to thank Mr. Tom Lawrence and Mr. Derby Jones for your questions tonight. And since Tom was out of one, I'm going to take a point of privilege here. I don't live in this county. I don't vote in this county. I want to ask one last question, and it'll be real quick. The only hire you can make, as far as I know, would be for the superintendent of schools here. That's the only thing you all get to vote on. Am I correct? So, with that being the case, would you tomorrow, if the superintendent's job was vacant, would you rehire the current superintendent or hire somebody else? Yes or no? And some quick discussion in less than 30 seconds of why you answered why you did. I'm just going to go this way. We'll start back. Josh, go ahead. Let's round the room.
I have to say that as a sitting board member who has a responsibility to evaluate and review the superintendent's contract, I don't think it's appropriate for me to answer that question.
Okay, that's fair. Jay?
So I've had lots of conversations with Jason. My reviews of him are on the record. I've told him that I support him in the job he's doing. I'm not looking to certainly get rid of him, and I really appreciate the work that he's done. But I've been vocal, and we've got a good relationship to let him know what are the things that he has that I think he could improve on. So.
Thank you, Jay. Shauna?
So I would say maybe to that answer. I haven't worked with Jason Golden directly. I've obviously seen the public's viewpoint of his job performance the past couple of years. I don't think it would be fair to say I would not rehire him. I would definitely want to know who the alternatives are. It's not just a simple let's get rid of something similar to the wit and wisdom. Ripping something out doesn't always get replaced with something what we would consider better. I would definitely, if elected, I would certainly work with whoever the superintendent is and give a fair appraisal assessment of the job being done.
Thank you, Shauna. Donna?
Thank you. I have not worked with Jason Golden, so I can't speak to my experience with him. But I'm always open to seeing all candidates. I think it's fair to see the options available. But from what I know, again, I don't have a working relationship with him, so I don't know. That's kind of a hard question to answer. But that would be my take on it.
Thank you, Donna. Allie?
So I do think that is a hard question to answer, being that I haven't worked directly with him. So I think that we do have an evaluation process that the board does, and I would want to get more involved before I could make a decision like that.
Thank you, Allie. Eric?
So I have reviewed the superintendent. It's public, it's online. I have voted to renew his contract, and I would do so again. I think he's done an excellent job. Superintendent turnover is up 30% in the state, just as it's kind of been a rough environment for teachers. It's been a rough environment for superintendents as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And it puts some nose out of joint here, but frankly, if you're running for the Board of Education, you haven't had a conversation, sit down with the superintendent of schools yet, you need to go do that. He is your one employee. He's the individual that you work with more than anything else. And you really need to go have that conversation with him, understand what his role and your role is and all the implications of that.
Thank you, Eric. Grayson?
Yes, it's been years since I've worked with Mr. Golden in juvenile services. I believe he was the Williamson County's attorney at one point. So any interaction I've ever had with him has been totally reasonable. But again, just like Mr. Brown was saying, I think it would be inappropriate for me running for office and thinking that I would need to tell the community that the superintendent needs to step down. That's not a good move for me.
Thank you, Grayson. Jamie?
I'm concerned. I'm a businessman, and I approach this like our school's an NFL football team, and I wanted to win the Super Bowl. I want the best superintendent. I don't want one that we're hanging around with because he's all right and because it's hard to find a great one. I want the best superintendent, not just for us to work with, but for our students, our school, our parents. I want the best. I want to win. I want our kids to win. This year, I'm concerned. We just had a school board meeting where we removed one book from the curriculum. We had to remove it. It's been adopted into our system. It's never passed the state, Wit and Wisdom. 7 books have been flagged. We have 90 teachers, record number, quitting our schools. I'm very concerned. If I'm a parent, I'm really concerned. I think we need to look at it, and we need to see what we can do to improve our superintendent.
All right, Jamie. Thank you very much for answering that last question. Each candidate here tonight was allowed, if they wanted to submit a question to the opposing candidate in their race. Some candidates here obviously are not, don't have a Republican primary, but there was one submitted by Donna Clements or submitted by Shauna. Did you submit a question? Shauna submitted a question for Donna Clements. Donna, you're running on a platform of being a longtime educator who has extensive background with the Williamson County Schools. Can you explain how teaching in a private school more than 20 years and placing all 4 of your school-age children in homeschool or private school for the past 7 years makes you a compelling voice for public school families?
Absolutely. Is it on?
Yeah, now.
Okay, thank you. As a candidate early on, I created an advisory team of Williamson County school parents and a Williamson County teacher. So instead of just my perspective, this team has provided me insight from many families on what is working and what is not. All 4 of my children have attended Williamson County schools, collectively 17 years. Ultimately, Williamson County Schools has been the backbone of my children's education My 2 older children had IEPs, showing they are unique learners with unique needs. As a mom and an educator, I've tried to balance my desire for my children to succeed with what is best for each child individually. When it comes to education, we often joked we're a Heinz 57 family. We have experience in private, homeschool, and public school. Finally, we need to realize that every taxpayer in Williamson County is invested in the schools. 70 cents out of every dollar goes to the schools, and that is fantastic. Every citizen in Williamson County is an investor and a stakeholder in the next generation of Williamson County.
Thank you, Donna. Some announcements here at the end. Number one, I want to thank all the candidates in the panel and this audience for attending. Upcoming things you need to put on your calendar. We will have the county commissioners here on April the 7th and April the 21st. That's April the 7th and April the 21st. We'll do this again with county commission candidates on Thursday, March the 17th is the St. Patrick's Mix and Mingle put on by the Republican Party at the Marriott Cool Springs, and they ask you to wear green. On March the 31st, we have the Just Dessert cake auction, so all the candidates will be asked to bring a cake or dessert to be auctioned off. And where will that be? At the Old Natchez Country Club. And the time on that? 6 o'clock on that, and 5 o'clock on the Mix and Mingle?
5:30 on the Mix and Mingle.
5:30 on the Mix and Mingle, okay?
But that is exactly for all our Republican candidates. It is to platform them. We will continue to platform our Republican candidates and what we're doing. So that is March 17, Cool Springs Boulevard, Cool Springs Marriott, and wear your green and get your green drinks.
And the last announcement I need to make, on April the 23rd, the Williamson County Republican Party will have their annual picnic. So mark those dates down and participate. And other than that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Let's give everybody a round of applause tonight. And we're dismissed.